week, and then the following week they're off, and then they'll go again. But I also have some friends that was in a couple reenactment groups that they've done reenactments for 3 weekends in a row.
And in the states, or what states again?
So you have Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi.
And then you said there are also some in the north.
Yeah, one that I know in particular is Gettysburg. And it's actually kind of crazy. They actually do the reenactment pretty close to the actual dates of the war. So that's another interesting thing about the reenactments is they kind of shoot them right around or close to the dates of the actual battle.
And most of them are they Confederate or Union victories in the South?
Most of them that I've been to was a Union victory.
Really?
Yeah.
The other thing I was asking you is that you said that, so I was asking you, what are we going to see in Alabama? And you said we're going to see hundreds of families.
You're going to see a large number of people. And when I say a large number of people, I mean people that may not really know much history of the Civil War or that battle, but just being able to come out, they just want to be able to support their heritage or their history.
Alabama, you said they're really
yeah, they're real big on their reenactments out there.
Yeah. Why?
Well, Alabama is one of those states that kind of support still the Confederate history. They still have the Confederate Memorial Day holiday on their books, and they're real big on that. Mainly because a lot of regiments came out of Alabama during the Civil War.
So now, I think we've gone over the particulars. This is a weird thing I was asking. So they use fake bullets, right?
Yeah, they're blanks.
Okay, they're blanks. And because I'm watching all of the gunfire in your videos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God help you, you know what I mean? They use fake bullets. Tell me about some of the different things that they use. There's blanks, there's cannons that are fired.
Now, the cannons and the muskets are all real weaponry. It's just the guns have the blanks. They still have the powder in the guns, as well as like the cannons. They have the powder, just kind of shoots blanks when they fire it. You can still see the smoke. There's sometimes that I've caught sparks coming out of the cannon as well as the muskets. Even smoke rings.
The uniforms are
they're the actual ones. They're the wool uniforms that they had back in the Civil War. The canteen, as far as like the actual like magazine holders, or not magazine, but the cartridge containers.
no cell phones.
No, I think they leave those in their tents, either that or in their trucks.
And they don't sleep overnight in these tents.
Yes, they do.
What?
Yes. So how it happens is at a reenactment, they would show up Friday for registration and all that stuff, and they would set up their tent. They would sleep from Friday all the way until Sunday. After the battle on Sunday, they would pack up their tents and head back home.
But they sleep as this is a full reenactment over.
Yeah, they use campfire, all that.
And wow, no Diet Cokes.
No, I'm sure they probably have Diet Cokes, but they'll drink it out of like the little canteen cup that they had in the Civil War, just to make everything look legit, so everybody can learn the history, but also see the battle at 2 o'clock.
And the battles is it each day at 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
So going back to the big picture, I was asking you, like, for example, let's talk about Stone Mountain for a second.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who wish Stone Mountain wasn't there. A lot of people who look like me who wish that you could sandblast, those carvings off the face of it. What do you say to those people?
I get the reason why they want to do it. I mean, I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm not picking any sides. But I understand their side, but there's also another side behind it, and right before we were on camera, I let you know that I met the daughter of the man that carved Stone Mountain, and her dad that carved it had a passion for history, so he wanted to make something for, I guess you could say, three heroes of the South. You have Jefferson Davis, Stonewall Jackson, and Robert E. Lee. And no matter what they did in their history, in their past, we just gotta learn from what they did so we don't make the same mistakes. And I think if we take Stone Mountain away, though, there's really not going to be much left to what we know of as Stone Mountain, because everybody always is talking about the memorial there and the light show, but I mean, if you take that away, then all you're going to have is a light show with a big boulder, and there's nothing really there. And I mean, I know that there's a lot of bad things that happen at Stone Mountain, and I'm not condoning that was right.
Klan burning crosses at Stone Mountain.
I mean, I get it. I mean, the Klan.
It was if you think about it, it is somewhat ironic. Stone Mountain, being the birthplace of the Klan. At least that's what it said. And you look at it. It's just for so many people. It's just got this painful history.
No, I mean, I completely understand, and that's my main goal. I want everybody to understand the truth of the Civil War, no matter if it's the Confederate side, the Union side, or even the African American side of it. Because what these men or women, children had to go through while living in the South at that time was unbearable. And I'm not saying that the Confederates were right at doing anything, but I do think that we can learn from it and teach our children the truth, and know that some of the men that was even slaves at the time of the Civil War, when they were granted their freedom, a lot of them joined the Union Army to fight for their freedom. And I think too, if we want to be able to understand the African American history part of it, we have to also do our due diligence and talk about the men that wore the blue uniforms that fought for our freedom towards the end of the Civil War.
You're talking about who were black.
Yeah. Like the men of the 54th.
You're talking about black soldiers.
Yeah, black soldiers
who fought for the Union.
Yeah.
So for you, it's not just about Confederate history; it's about Union history.
Yeah, because I've done a research on the 54th Massachusetts, which was an all black regiment that went toe to toe several times with the Confederates. And I've looked up to them so much, and I have great respect and honor for those men.
Are you what they call a history buff?
Yes. I love history, no matter what type of history. I love it. The Civil War, Native Americans, American Revolution, all of it. I even love going down to the Martin Luther King Center and learning about him.
What is it about history that interests you so much?
Because history has so much to offer. Because not only does it tells you three things. It tells you where we were, how we got to where we are. It tells us where we came from, but also how we got where we are today. And each time we, through the years and generations, we can either A, accept the mistakes that we did in the past and learn from them, or B, we can continue the trait of doing the wrongs that got us to the situation that put us with a bad name, or we can, just accept defeat and just move on and learn from it, and I think that's what we need to do.
Accept defeat.
Just accept the fact. Like, if you want to support your heritage, do it, but do it to a certain extent. Don't like, another thing that's been targeted a lot is the Confederate flag, the battle flag. I understand that the Klan used it. I get it. But if you have heritage, support it. but also don't fly it for hatred, you know. And I think that's where a lot of people get it they get it confused about the flag, you know, because the flag itself has Christianity values. The X on the cross is a symbolism of St. Andrew's, which was the first disciple of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And
it's tough though.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because it bears it bears a lot of negative energy.
It does. It's funny because I'll tell you, I see the Confederate flag when I see it on license plates or I see it, outside of the home. It telegraphs a message to me as an African American, and that may be unintended, but it just telegraphs this message to me that that I am more than likely not as welcome at that home, or that the people who have that on their license plates are not as inclusive of someone like me.
Yeah.
It's a message that, because of the way it's been used over the years, there sometimes comes a point where it's just like any flag, it will carry the sort of values and messages that are ascribed to it by history and events. And so, you look at that flag and for me, it has that feeling, but it sort of gets to what we're talking about here is that, I'm from the North.
Yeah.
And when I moved down here 20-some years ago, it just felt to me, I'm like, they are still fighting that darn Civil War down here.
Yeah.
It is, it ended a long time ago. People are still fighting, and here we are, literally.
Yeah. I mean, it's still an ongoing thing. And I understand your point with the license plate. I completely understand. I mean, if you have the flag, depending on where you're at and what location you're at, if there's a lot of people around you that are offensive with the flag, just keep it inside. Support it inside if you have to. I think that's where we're getting a lot of confusion. Is you got one group saying something and then you got another group. I think we should just all get along or get together, talk our differences out, and see if we can kind of come to a common ground. I mean, if you see me filming and I had it on my car and you asked me to take it off, I'd be more than willing to take it off because I don't want any like trouble. I don't want to be classified as racism.
Have you been called a racist?
Yes, I have. I got a comment on one of my videos when I did the history of Dalton, and the guy was basically calling me racist, and he also kind of was like north south or north one south lost, who cares kind of thing, but I killed him with kindness. I just said thank you for viewing, thank you for the comment, hope you subscribe, hope you enjoyed the video.
So you're used to being called a racist?
Yeah. I mean, me and my family, we get evil looks everywhere we go. I think one city that we got a lot of looks at was Selma, Alabama, when we did this history out there.
There was a battle in Selma?
There was. They haven't had a reenactment in a while, but I think it's because of the area, and maybe the culture that's out there now, which I understand.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to bring that back either.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel? Where's Janice? Where did she go?
She hit the
Phone.
Oh, she's on the phone? Okay. How do you feel about this whole, how are you feeling?
I'm good.
Okay. This whole notion, because now that we're talking history, there's this argument about whether or not we should be teaching certain history about race in schools. There's critical race theory and discussion. How do you feel about it?
I mean, I understand it, I support it. I mean, I think
you support teaching of it or not teaching of it?
To a certain extent. But I think more or less, just because you learn it in school, are you really going to apply it outside school?
So you're okay with the teaching of this sort of history and?
I mean, if that's what it takes, you know, because I want everybody to learn each side. You know, I want people to understand the African American side as well as the Caucasian side.
Do you think that, because what I would suspect is that a lot of people who are, you know, screaming about this, because it's been given this title, critical race theory, I have a feeling a lot of those people, and I'm going to ask on Sunday, a lot of those people will probably be out at these reenactments, you know, and so, you know, I just wonder if, you know, if I'm going to hear, you know, a discrepancy between people who don't want, you know, kids to learn about this, but really want to make sure that everyone knows about the Confederacy.
Well, see, that's the thing. You can't take something like that, a program or something like that in school, and ignore it just so that everybody knows about the Confederacy, because we got to learn both. Because if you don't want to listen to that, and then you just want to support this Confederacy, it kind of makes you kind of look bad, you know, because, you know, to me, I love history.
No matter what the history is.
Yeah, no matter, because I mean, I can name you a few people throughout African American times that I look up to, as even being a Caucasian, and you know, I look up at Frederick Douglass, who started the whole trend of ending slavery, and I'm glad he did, because I think that we all are treated, or should be treated equally, you know, and race should never be a problem. And you know, America is a land of opportunity, and nobody should be undermined just because of the color of the skin.
I'm pretty close to done. I ask this question of everyone.
Okay.
It's a question and it always gives me great answers. Every interview I do, I always ask, when we do this story, what do you want me not to forget to tell America?
Just let everyone know that even though I support I support the Civil War, I never want everybody to just think that I just support that and that only. I want everybody to know the truth from the Civil War to what happened during the Civil War, even all the great men that came out of the Civil War that wasn't even Caucasian but African American, you know. And I'll give you a prime example. Harriet Tubman, you know, and not only everybody just knows of her as an Underground Railroad lady, you know, the lady that led the Underground Railroad, but a lot of people don't understand that she was actually also a Union spy, you know, and she helped the Union forces, but she also worked alongside Frederick Douglass, you know, and those two, to me, I look up to. I watched the movie of Harriet Tubman, I watched stuff on Frederick Douglass. I look up to them just as much as I look up to Martin Luther King.
And what should I say in terms of this, you know, this fight that we're still having all these years?
I think that if you want to support it, but also at the same time, listen to other people. Don't just be about yourself. Listen to other people's points. And if they are offended by what you have on your vehicle, just take it inside. That's all you have to do. Don't try to pick a fight, you know, because we're all going to have different opinions. But we got to be willing to find a common ground and just accept the fact. Just like I was saying to you, if you seen one on my vehicle and you asked me to take it off, I would have done it. Because I was always raised to be respectful to one another.
So in that vein, because the monuments, that's what a lot of people are saying. These monuments are disrespectful to us. They're hurtful to us. You know.
Well, you got to look at what monuments are you describing, because you know, when you look at Robert E. Lee statue in downtown Richmond, there's three things that was on that monument. That was the name, his rank, and the day he was born to the day he died. It's up to the people to go home and Google what he did in his time.
What about the people who will tell you, and because this is the case with most of these monuments, that it would be one thing if those monuments went up right after the Civil War, but in most cases they went up in the 50s.
They went up during the Jim Crow law.
Exactly.
So I mean, I can get why they're frustrated. I get that, but I think that like, if you want to take them down, place them in a museum or something where they can be preserved. You know, because there's still going to be some people that want to see it.
But you do have to recognize a lot of times the monuments were put up because essentially black folks were getting too much from what the way the other side.
No, I get it. I mean, like I read a quote about Robert E. Lee, and he actually said right before he died he didn't even want a monument of himself because he wanted everybody to move past the Civil War. He didn't want anybody to be reminded of the Civil War. He didn't want a monument.
What do you say to that?
I mean, I can get it because he was. I mean, if you look at it, he was kind of correct. Because now look, all that stuff that happened in, not even in just 2020, but also the shooting that took place in South Carolina, that incident too, that leading up to the George Floyd incident. I mean, it's just I can see why African Americans are angry with the situation and wanting some of it to be taken down and removing certain things, and I understand that, and you know what, if you guys want to, fine, but I'm still going to learn the history. I want everybody to know the truth, but I also will support your side too, because even though that you want to take it down, it's still going to be written in history how you look at it, and my heart does go out to the families that had ancestors that went through those tough times. But I understand, and I'm not picking any side. I'm not for anybody. I just want everybody to know the history.
I'm going to mark that whole section, the whole last section. I would say people get it's usually. It never fails. People really, when you tell someone, here's your chance to say what the point is, they just always works. That whole last, we're good.
Okay, well, we need to get a two-shot.
Oh, yeah. I think the best answers when you ask them, you have to tell America. It's tough. It's a tough thing, Part of what makes it really hard is when you realize when most of these things went up, they didn't go up, 10 years after the Civil War, 20, 30.
It was like right after.
What's that?
It was like right after, basically.
What do you mean?
The monuments and stuff.
Well, no, a lot of these monuments went up when, I know that a lot of them went up in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And the reason, which is that, let's see. Okay, I'm glad you showed me.
Yeah, that's better.
That's better. I mean, a lot of them went up in the 50s and 60s, and part of the reason for that was because Jim Crow, was because court ordered desegregation, and so when you look at how some of these monuments went up, it has people saying, is it really about the history, or is that just what people are saying today? Because they didn't go up for those reasons. Monuments were put up for those reasons. I find that, are we good?
I think we're good, yeah.
Okay. I find that,
Yeah, okay.
there is, in this
Our
country,
next person is here, so we'll
Okay.
need to flip.
yeah, we can flip it.
Do you just want to do switch benches? Is that what you're saying?